lost all ambition or worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love, and with your admission that you feel the same.
What is going on, guys? Gamer Protein here. Welcome back to the channel and to a brand new video. And in today's video, we're just going to be going over my thoughts on the Modern Warfare 3 beta, which finished on the 16th of October, so not that long ago. And I've given myself just a couple of days to really just go collect my thoughts about the beta, how I feel about it, what the good things are, and what the bad things are, which has shaped my overall opinion as to whether or not really you should be getting Modern Warfare 3, which we'll delve into in just a little bit, guys. But before we do delve into the pros and the cons of Modern Warfare 3, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and turn on post notifications so you can stay up to date with all the content that I upload here onto the channel. And sound off in the comments section down below your thoughts on Modern Warfare 3, because I actually want to hear what you guys actually think about the beta. You know, did you guys enjoy it? Did you not? Because a lot of people's experience with the beta is very subjective. So with that being said out of the way, guys, let's jump into my overall opinions about the beta. So all in all, Modern Warfare 3 is actually quite a good game compared to Joe Seckel's Door Fetches Camping Simulator. Because, you know, when you compare Call of Duty games compared to Infinity Turd over the last 10 years, you know, the standard, it doesn't really take much to improve over an Infinity Turd game. Let's be honest here. But, you know, we've got 16 maps at launch, red dots on the minimap, we've got dead silence, we've got faster movement, all the stuff that never should have been taken out of the game in the first place being added back to what is essentially a update for Modern Warfare 2. You know, I'll be honest, you know, 70 quid update, that's what we're getting. You know, anybody can agree with that. And I think it would have just been better if it was just an update for Modern Warfare 2. You know, don't get me wrong. But, you know, I think there's a lot of good things in it. You know, we're getting a fully fledged campaign. You know, all the multiplayer stuff that we've had in literally less than a year it took for Sledgehammer to build. You know, I've got to give them credit. Especially when you compare to Infinity Ward, who had less than 60 maps at launch, and they apparently worked on the game for 3 years and had 3,000 dares. Yeah, 3 years, my ass. I'll be honest. Yeah, 3 years, my fucking ass. But there are a couple of problems with the game. One of my first kind of problems with the game, I suppose, maybe down to maybe like just personal preference in terms of the graphics, which, you know, you can kind of buff yourself if you're on PC to make the visuals look a lot better, but if you're on console, there really isn't much that you can really do other than maybe like, you know, change the saturation, the brightness, some of the colors. But all in all, I just feel like the graphics are such a downgrade from Modern Warfare 2. I mean, because you could say what you want about Sekart's weird game that looks like Call of Duty but doesn't. The graphics are just phenomenal. You know, some of the best graphics that we have seen ever since Infinity Ward gave us the new Modern Warfare engine. And then Sledgehammer coming along, you know, it gives us most of the stuff that we want, and yet the graphics just feel so bland, and like the color paletting just isn't as good. And of course there are ways that, you know, you can kind of just touch up a few of the settings yourself to improve the visuals, but I think Sledgehammer would definitely benefit from just sort of like really buffing up the graphics so that we have the same level of graphics that we've got in Modern Warfare 2, really to kind of just make the game feel like a current gen game, because it kind of felt like I was on an old gen Xbox One game, if I'm brutally honest. Which kind of does lead into the second thing, which is just the visibility of the game is so terrible. Granted, when I played the beta, you know, there were name tags above enemies, so it was a little bit easier to see, but it is still pretty bad. When you look at the kind of washed out way that the graphics feel, seeing enemies is not easy. Because if Sledgehammer were to actually touch up the graphics and continue making improvements to the visibility, then, you know, it would certainly help a lot and feel more like a current gen Series X, S, and PS5 game with improved visibility, which is the one thing I would give, you know, Modern Warfare 2 that little bit of credit for, is the fact that, you know, whilst, you know, it was campy as hell, you know, there was better graphics and somewhat better visibility, depending on who you ask, obviously. I mean, there wasn't name tags in Modern Warfare 2, but, you know, Sledgehammer are listening, and I hope that, you know, they buff up the graphics to improve the visibility even more, if I'm brutally honest. So another issue that, you know, myself and I think everybody in the COD community has been talking about since the beta is the spawn system. You know, the spawns are just so terrible. Because half the time, you'll kill someone, and then the next thing you know, they spawn behind you and get a revenge kill on you, and vice versa. If you're killed by somebody, then you end up spawning right behind the enemy, and it really does cause a couple of problems, especially if people, are, say, new to the game and familiar with the maps, and then they have a spawn system that has completely changed since the OG days of Modern Warfare 2. Now, of course, this can be very well mitigated by just simply learning the terrible spawn system, like, learning where, they're going to spawn instead of perhaps where they were originally in some of the maps. Because the way the spawns used to work in this game is that once you learn the spawns of every single map, you would know where they would go. So you would go to those areas, and then you could be more than likely to get, a lot more kills, for example, because you knew where players were going to spawn in, so you could get them again and again and again. That's how spawns used to work. Whereas nowadays, it is a case where you shoot someone, they die, and you don't know where they're going to spawn. They'll either spawn on the other side of the map, they'll spawn behind you, but the spawn, it's just a terrible system because you can't really predict where they're going to be anymore, and it just removes that ability to be able to really kind of learn the spawns from that kind of perspective. But the only way really around that is to actually learn the new spawn system, which I suppose can mitigate the issue, but it would just be nice if Sledgehammer would just change the spawn system and make it somewhat player friendly again, because at the moment the spawns are just so unfriendly to any players because you just cannot predict where they're going to be, and it's just leaving you guessing when you have that kind of predictability when it comes to Call of Duty. Like you know where stuff's going to be, where players are going to be spawning, and the new system just kind of takes away from that. And it is really annoying. So, Sledgehammer, if you are watching this, please fix the spawn. Now, all of those issues that I've just previously mentioned are things that, Sledgehammer actually control, and they can literally fix if they actually choose to do so, which I imagine they will do, because Sledgehammer, unlike Infinity Turd and Sackart, actually listen to the fans. But the one thing that really brings this game down for me, and will probably for a lot of other people, which is our Sledgehammer's control, and is more to do with Activision, is skill-based matchmaking. SBMM or engagement, optimized matchmaking, whatever you want to call it, the algorithm is the single biggest problem with this game, which has been ramped up, according to some people, from Modern Warfare 2. I would admit I've not really experienced that much of the algorithm because my stats aren't as good as some other people's. I'm like a .80 or something in Modern Warfare 2 in terms of my KD, so I'm probably not going to really notice the skill-based that much. But the way it works, you get punished if you have a good game. That's just the bottom line. You have like 1 or 2 good games where you destroy them and destroy the enemy and all that, you feel good. And then the next few matches, you are just getting annihilated. Because the way it works now is that it used to be the case that you would just get put in sweaty lobbies if you were doing good. That is still very much the case with Modern Warfare 3. You'll get put in very sweaty lobbies as if it's some huge ranked play final with like 10 grand on the line or something like that. This is how insane it is. But they make it worse where the algorithm will mess with your hit detection, your movement, your aiming, and if you have a KD of a 1 or over, it will mess with your internet because it messes around with your ping. It gives you such a high ping that you feel like you are having latency, lagging, packet loss, all the things that, you experience in Modern Warfare 2, but it's worse depending on your KD. Everyone experiences the SBMM. That is a fact. It doesn't matter whether you have a less than a 1 KD or over a 1 KD. You still experience skill base. But it's worse for those people who actually are just good at the game because it punishes you for doing good. Now, I could literally just go in depth about the skill base and how it ruins Call of Duty as a whole. But I think all the things that I could talk about skill-based deserves its own separate video, but sound off in the comments if you actually want me to do a separate video talking about the skill base, because You don't really hear that many people actually talking about skill base. I mean, they are now, Blame Truth, Murder Show, and a lot of other people are talking about the skill base. But at the same time, we just have to get used to it. At the moment, it is here to stay. Now, I don't know whether now that Microsoft have taken over Activision, whether we'll see the skill base go by 2024, Scott. I honestly don't know. But hopefully, this could be the last game with high skill based, and then it can be toned down, say, next year with, Treyarch's game. But, skill based is the one thing that really ruins this game, because everything else about Modern Warfare 3 is absolutely perfect. But it's the skill base that just brings it down so much. It's frustrating. And it's one of the reasons why so many people don't want to buy this game, because they're just going to get punished for having fun. Because that's what skill based does. It punishes you for having a good time and just doing well. Now, they were just some of the negatives about this game. A lot of the minor negatives, apart from the skill based, not much we can do about it. But I will be frank with you, there is a lot going for this game. Honestly, it's actually one of the best Call of Duty games we've probably had since Vanguard, if I'm brutally honest. Because honestly, when you compare this to Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 2 is just absolutely atrocious, and Vanguard was better than that. And that's saying something. And the fact that Sledgehammer had less than a year to give us a Call of Duty multiplayer experience in less than a year, and the fact that we're getting 16 maps, and we're getting all the stuff that Infinity Ward took away from us, from the red dots, dead silence, faster movement, map voting, we're getting all that back. Sledgehammer really do put Infinity Ward to shame. That in 8 months they can cobble together a much better multiplayer experience than what Infinity Turd could shit out in a year. Because Joseph, I hope you're taking notes, boy. This is how you make a Call of Duty game. Map voting, red dots on the minimap, dead silence as a perk, and faster movement. Not slow-paced, sluggish, camping, door fetish gameplay. That is not what makes Call of Duty, Stackart. I don't know how hard it is for you to grasp in that very tiny head brain of yours. But it can't be a huge brain, because, to be honest, I don't even think he has one. Because he's that incompetent. Sledgehammer have just completely exposed Infinity Ward for being completely and utterly lazy. It's unbelievable. Of course, the really big positive about Modern Warfare 3 is the fact that the devs are actually communicating with the fans, listening to the feedback. Even though Infinity Ward claim they listen to the feedback, I mean, we all know that's a load of bullshit. Because Sledgehammer listened to the pleas of all the fanboys of COD who wanted things added back to the game that Infinity Ward took out. All the things I just mentioned. Sledgehammer, straight away, adding them back because they listened to us. Even Battle Rage, which back at the COD Next event a couple of weeks ago was completely overpowered. They nerfed it before the open beta, which just proves Sledgehammer actually listened to you. They listened to you, me, everyone in the COD community, which is a bonus over Joseph, who seems to think that feedback is the exact opposite. That we don't listen to the feedback, we just carry on doing what we want. And not listening to the fans. That's how you lose the player base. Sledgehammer are actually trying to retain the player base by giving us the core things that we want. One of the big positives, for everyone is just the movement. The movement is so beautiful. We've got reload cancelling, slide cancelling, faster movement. You can mantle your weapons quicker, swap weapons quicker. All of that makes for a much quicker, better and faster experience compared to Infinity Ward and Modern Warfare 2, because you compare the difference between Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2 in terms of the pace of the gameplay is literally night and day. Because Modern Warfare 2, I feel like I'm playing a completely different game that's just got the Call of Duty brand on it, whereas Modern Warfare 3 actually feels like a Call of Duty game. Pretty much the same movement that I would expect from Cold War, which is probably one of the last good COD games that we actually had. which I know is quite a divisive opinion because it seems anything post 2019 is complete dog shit to some people's eyes. But the movement is just a blessing in disguise. And then the maps. All 16 launch maps from the OG Modern Warfare 2. High Rise, Skid Row, Favela, and, they're just some of the maps that, a lot of fans, especially those who actually grew up playing Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009, it's like reliving your childhood. We're essentially getting Modern Warfare 2 OG remastered, obviously with a few differences, but, the fact that we're getting all these maps in the space of less than a year, that Sledgehammer just took them, remastered them. Granted, obviously visuals could be better, but we're getting those maps at launch, which is better than what Infinity Ward could churn out. Because we had maybe, 10 maps or something? Not even 10 maps at launch, which was abysmal. And I think it's a good thing that we're getting a whole host of maps at launch that are actually good and people enjoy. Because we're talking about the maps developed by the original Infinity Ward, the real Infinity Ward, who went on to do Respawn Entertainment and the Titanfall series. Which is a good thing, in my opinion. We're getting those maps remastered, so it's familiar, faster movement. It's a dream come true. Now, I know this particular puzzle is going to be a bit kind of basic, but it's just the map voting. We've got map voting. It's just such a simple thing that never should have been taken out of the game in the first place. And of course, once again, is Infinity Ward, who, for whatever reason, took out map voting. I mean, you could probably put your guess as to why they got rid of map voting, because they want to force you to play their shitty maps. Which no one likes, because their map design is terrible. I mean, granted, it's better in Modern Warfare 2 compared to 2019, but their map design is still terrible. And the fact that we've had to beg Sledgehammer to give us map voting is great, but it's that we got it, but it's so depressing at the same time that we had to beg Sledgehammer to give us map voting. And of course, that's not the only thing that we've got back. We've actually got Dead Silence as an actual perk in the form of these combat boots, which, it's different, but it's still Dead Silence. And the funny thing is, Sledgehammer even had a trailer for Dead Silence, which I think is just so funny. They're literally just poking aim at Infinity Ward at the same time. It's just absolutely hilarious, but kind of depressing at the same time. The stuff that we just wanted back to how it was before Infinity Ward, for whatever reason, just changed up for the hell of it, we've got back. It's just depressing at the same time, but I'm just glad that we've got map voting again. Of course, we've got the Dead Silence as it should be, so that way if you want to be silent, you can, without making it so obvious and letting everybody know across the world that you've got Dead Silence. Now, the last two positives I'm going to touch up on in this little review is, obviously, the first thing is, just the way the guns feel. A lot of the guns feel good to use. Weapons like the ACR, the Striker 45, or, the UMP 45 for those who are very familiar with the ancient ways of COD. They feel good to use. The guns do feel good to use. And the time to kill as well really certainly helps kind of bridge up that skill gap a bit, so that, you can have longer gunfights and it doesn't feel as if you're dying straight away, depending on the algorithm, obviously. But, the gameplay and the guns, they feel good to use. They still feel good, they still feel deadly, and that you can get a lot of good kills with them, with your class setups. And then, of course, the final thing, which just adds up to what really is a better Call of Duty experience: red dots on the minimap. I mean, you shoot your gun, you reveal your location to the enemy, so you actually know where people are going to be on the maps, which certainly does help with the game, because unlike in Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, and we're talking about the reboot here, not obviously the OG games, but 2019 and Deuce, there was no red dots. We've actually got the classic minimap, and now it's just makes a much better experience. I mean, what more can we seriously want? It's just what we wanted. Things that never should have been taken out of the game being added back. That it's just as simple as that. And adding the red dots certainly does help. I mean, granted, the maps that we're all familiar with, and we should 9 times out of 10 know where they're going to be, but having the red dots certainly does help. And of course, To all the people who are definitely going to say, oh, but what if you just shoot your gun and we don't want to be found? Well, listen, if you are that worried about being spotted on the minimap, equip the perk Ghost so you don't appear on the radar, or just add a bloody suppressor. That's a you problem. You know, the red dots are there so you can have a rough idea where they are, because you can still move around if you've shot your gun, because, you know, you go to that location, yeah, they've got a rough idea where you might be, but you could have gone somewhere else by that point if you actually play smart and not like a complete casual. Because, to be honest, the only people who probably like no red dots on the minimap are casuals. Unlike the rest of the community who like having the red dots, so we have a rough idea where people are going to be, rather than guessing and then boom, oh no, they're hiding behind a door in a corner with a shotgun or an LMG or something stupid. So after looking at everything in terms of both the negatives and the positives of this beta so far, should you or should you not buy Modern Warfare 3 when it comes to the full launch? And which version should you get? It is very subjective, really, when it comes to whether or not you should buy this game. And it's subjective because there's just so many different factors, really, in terms of, you know, are you going to get anything out of it, depending on, you know, a load of things. You know, if you're just going to play it for the campaign, then obviously I would not recommend buying it at all, because you're just literally paying, like, you know, at least £70 just to play the single player. But, you know, if you've got intentions on playing the multiplayer and say you're a solo player, then you're going to find yourself really having a rough ride, unless you want to try and use a VPN or reverse boost or use an alternative account to at least try and have some fun in the multiplayer if you're a solo player. Because if you play solo, you're going to find that the skill base treats you very harshly, especially if you have a KD of over a 1. You are going to get treated so harshly. You're going to find your connection being all over the place because of the high ping. The skill base is going to go through the roof. Your hit detection is not always going to work. And, you know, the same can be said for, you know, those of less than 1 KD. You know, you'll still find your hit detection doesn't work and you'll be in complete sweat fests. But if you plan on playing this game with your friends, then definitely buy the game, because as long as you've got friends to play with, the skill base won't be as terrible compared to if you are solo. And it will certainly be worth it if you're going to, you know, carry on the story of the new Modern Warfare trilogy, because, you know, I think a lot of people want to find out, you know, what has Makarov got planned. You know, I think a lot of people are. But, you know, all in all, it is very subjective in a lot of ways, because if you're somebody who just completely hates the skill base and doesn't want to adapt, then don't even bother buying the game. Just wait until COD 2024 and see if Microsoft force Activision to at least tone down the skill base, because let's just be real, guys, you know, skill base is not going to go away. It is going to be here for a long time, until probably the end of existence. Let's be real, you know, skill base isn't going away. So we can either adapt to it by either playing with friends, reverse boosting, using VPNs, because honestly, if you do any of that, like reverse boosting or use VPNs, I honestly don't blame you, to be honest. I would not blame you at all if you're trying to get some form of fun out of this game, rather than every match being a sweat fest, because that is what is going to happen with the skill based. For as long as the skill base is the way it is, being completely cranked up, then you're not going to have a good time if you're playing by yourself. But when it comes to the version of the game, I would definitely recommend getting the Vault Edition over the Standard Edition, because you're getting a lot more out of the Vault Edition. Yes, it's £40 more, but for that £100 price tag, you're getting exclusive skins for both Price, Makarov and Ghost. You're getting a weapon bundle, and you're getting cold points and even the Black Cell for Season 1, which is a lot better compared to what we have for the Vault Edition in Modern Warfare 2. So if you really do care about, like, you know, what's inside the Vault Edition, then definitely buy it, because it is certainly worth it. But all in all, buying or not buying Modern Warfare 3 is very subjective, just based on the things that I've just covered there. But that being said out the way, guys, I hope you enjoy my review of Modern Warfare 3 as the beta, and I look forward to seeing you all when the game eventually drops on November 10th. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and turn on post notifications. I'll see you in my next video.